What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with kind of another episode of Lions Latest, going through the latest Detroit Lions news. Today, we once again have an update with the injury report. I mean, we're kind of all in with it this week, so we might as well continue updating the injury report every single day, or the practice report. So we have another update there, as well as some slight roster moves. And finally, we're going to dive into some of this All-22 from the Lions-Cowboys game, specifically the offensive side of the ball. So let's get it started. Welcome, everybody, to another video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, man, we are back with another All-22 / Lions latest video. Now, we're going to be focusing on the offense in today's video because on Bleacher Report, we did the defensive kind of discussion, and I don't show a ton of plays, but it was like 2 minutes worth of plays, and we didn't dive into them like crazy, but I did show them. So if we don't get the defense this week, that is up there if you guys want to check that out. Take a look at some plays from the defensive side of the ball. But we haven't really dove into the offensive side of the ball, so that's what I wanted to do today, and I think we're going to get through that pretty quickly this time around. But where I do want to start with this is going through the practice report update because we have it, so we might as well. And we'll start there. Let's start with the Detroit Lions side first, and it's actually a lot of good news. I was very worried about a few of these things coming into today. I was like, okay, I really want to see where Taylor Decker's at. I was worried yesterday when I saw no participation. I was saying, man, I don't even know if I play golf if there's no Taylor Decker. However, we got some good news today. So starting off at the top, Graham Glasgow. It scared me at first, but he's listed with no participation with rest. Benito Jones, no participation with illness. A lot of times we see guys return from that, especially if it doesn't happen on like a Friday, but we'll keep an eye on it. It could be something that lingers a little bit. It'll be very interesting if they don't have Benito Jones, how they kind of work that out. But again, we expect Lee McNeil to be out there this week. And Lee McNeil, man, it sounds like he's feeling pretty good. He's had basically the 4 weeks off. I don't want to say off. He said he's still been working out, lifting, squatting, but he feels in a way like he's coming off the offseason right now. He feels really, really fresh. So I'm excited to see what Lee McNeil puts out there. And he also talked about playing with Tyson Alualu and how a veteran like that with his experience, it'll be easy to play alongside a guy like Tyson Alualu. Benito Jones gets better. Frank Ragnow, no participation. Again, this one scared me, but as you can see, there's a fourth thing listed there, and that last thing is rest. It's probably due to rest that he is listed with no participation. It would be concerning if he was still in there tomorrow, but for now, I'm not too concerned about it. And Frank Ragnow, I think, really played a good game, a really good game against Dallas, and we'll showcase some of that in some of the clips here in a second. Jamison Williams, however, maybe not going to play this weekend. No participation for the second straight day. If there's any positive to it, and it sounds weird to call this a positive, is that he's listed with illness. Yesterday was just ankle, so maybe it's one of these things where he was okay with his ankle now, but he's just not feeling great, so he had no participation today either. But I'm assuming maybe there's still some things going on with the ankle there as well. But we'll keep an eye on that one. May not be playing this weekend. Brock Wright, no participation once again. He's been out for a little while now, and it doesn't seem like it's trending in the right direction, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. James Houston, limited participation. Again, on Monday, they didn't expect him to play, and I don't think he's going to play. The Lions currently have 2 open roster spots, so we'll talk about that in a second. However, he's still participating, and as long as he's participating, even if he doesn't play this weekend, it does give me hope for when the start of the playoffs come around that James Houston could potentially give us some snaps. Sam Laporta, limited participation. He's been listed with that for multiple days now with the ankle. I guess he was a little bit nicked up at the end of that Dallas Cowboys game. By the way, Sam Laporta was named to the Pro Bowl. Congratulations. Lions had 5 players named to the Pro Bowl. Those 5 players were Frank Ragnow, Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, Jalen Reeves-Maybin as the special teams player for the NFC, and of course, Sam Laporta. Now, if y'all know me, man, I don't really care about the Pro Bowl at all, but I know the players may. Like I saw the thing on St. Brown. He was hot that he was named to it, and it makes a ton of sense to me. St. Brown does a lot for us beyond just catching the football, but even that, he's excellent at doing that as well. So, look, I mean, as a fan, I really don't care too much about the Pro Bowl. 1, it's not that enjoyable to watch, and number 2, it's just a popularity contest completely. So, to me, it's just, look, it's fans voting on this, okay? It brings no value to me. It adds nothing to context to me. But as a player, I'd understand. Like, hell up, I want to be in the Pro Bowl. I want to play some dodgeball. So congratulations to those guys, man. You know, it's going to be a lot of fun. It is cool to have 5 players in the Pro Bowl representing for the Lions, but it also is that offensive line / defensive end. I guess maybe the skill games, it could be interesting, but, you know, you think back to last year when they were playing flag football, like the center, I felt just bad for him. When Frank Ragnow was snapping the football, I was like, hey, this looks no fun at all. He's just snapping the ball and going down to a knee. Can we let him do something else? Can he get into a trick play or something? We're just going to make him take a knee what is this? I don't know. Look, let's not go down that path.
Doing the editing here, I just remembered that this actually is not going to matter at all. Outside of getting that little asterisk next to your name on Pro Football Reference, which I guess is pretty cool looking. I mean, when you're playing in the Super Bowl, these players aren't even going to be in this game anyway.
Congratulations to those guys. Ali McNeil, limited participation, second straight day. Again, it sounds like he's going to play this weekend. However, Taylor Decker, this is the good news. Ooh, this felt great. Taylor Decker, full participation after no participation yesterday, being listed with groin. We did say maybe this is a Wednesday thing, and it looks like it may be that way. So this is awesome news. I was worried about this. This is great. Taylor Decker, full participation. CD Deuce, full participation, second straight day this week. Again, we expect him to play as well, and with that second roster spot open, I would expect that he's going to fill one of those with Ali McNeil. And then finally, second straight day, full participation for Cam Sutton. I think that's just good note on the progress. Speaking on the roster moves, the main thing that we have is Anthony Firsker, the tight end who was on the Lions roster for a little bit there, has been waived. Now, this is kind of who I expected was going to get waived, and I thought the Lions would do this to open up their second roster spot, and I wasn't sure if they were going to do it from getting a guy like Brock Wright back, which I don't know that they believe he's going to play this weekend, or a guy like Jason Kabinda returning because of special teams value. And I think that probably has a lot to do with this, that Jason Kabinda, who was added to the practice squad, probably is able to get elevated this weekend. We'll see. But Anthony Firsker has played in 2 weeks 22 special team snaps. I think that Jason Kabinda obviously can play some of that role as well. So that feels like a big reason for this. Plus, again, the Lions had to open up a roster spot if CD Deuce and Ali McNeil are going to come back off of IR this week. Now, on top of that, the Lions also added to their practice squad Raymond Johnson. Now, this one is the big edge defender, right? He's the guy that can kind of play that John Kaminsky, Josh Paschal type of role. We haven't seen him play in the regular season yet, but I remember, man, this guy balled out in the preseason when we added him to the team. I would be interested in just seeing maybe him play a little bit. Maybe just see Johnson get some snaps a little bit. I mean, it is the last week of the regular season, and this could be a spot where, you could just look to see what you have. You just let go of Bruce Irvin. They're not exactly the same type of player, but it could be interesting. He had such a strong preseason. We haven't seen him yet. He's a young player, but he looked good then. Maybe they get him some snaps. Probably not, but I don't know. It's something to just kind of keep an eye on. Now, onto the Vikings side of things. Again, just some couple quick updates here. Big ones. Christian Darrisaw, no participation today. They're starting left tackle. He had a couple losses last week to Preston Smith, but he's a pretty darn good player. But it was illness, so again, I don't know how long that's going to linger, but that's just something that usually a lot of times we'll see these guys return, and hopefully they're able to return from something like that. The other big news here has to come in terms of their cornerback position specifically. So we talked about Byron Murphy having no participation on Wednesday. He had no participation once again today. And then also on top of that now, Mekhi Blackmon, no participation today either. He was downgraded with his shoulder injury. So we saw last time he played Minnesota that on the outside they ultimately had to put Andrew Booth into the game, and Andrew Booth didn't play bad in that game. He played over 30 snaps in that game against us, so they may have to lean that direction again in this one with the Caleb Evans. A little bit banged up at cornerback right now, and on top of that, Harrison Smith continues with limited participation there, but usually that's not a bad sign. Jacqueline Roy, no participation. Same thing with Brian O'Neill, so it does feel like we're going to see Questenberry for the second straight time. You could throw in Ed Ingram to that mix as well. Limited participation for back-to-back days. Another starter on this offensive line. Definitely something to keep an eye on, but honestly, man, they're probably only going to miss one offensive lineman in Brian O'Neill. Christian Darrisaw will probably be back, just assuming, based on it being just illness, and I'm assuming the same thing for Ed Ingram, that he'll probably play. So they're probably going to be fine on the offensive line. I know it looks bad now, but usually that kind of just ends up working itself out. Now, one thing that definitely stood out to me when watching this thing back is actually how much man coverage Dallas played against us in this game. And I give credit to Dallas, man. They played good man coverage. Their communication was on point for the most part in this game. Their safeties gave good support. So did their, free zone defenders as well. Linebacker position, the safety position. They played man coverage well. Plus, they also have such a pass rush threat with a guy like Micah Parsons and all the other pieces in the interior like Odigizua, and then Lawrence gave them some stuff as well. When they have that kind of pass rush threat, you also don't want to live into drop back passing mode, so they kind of put you in that mode of you have to find ways to win. You want to find ways to win pretty darn quickly. So when we got into some of those third and long spots and they would just man up in the back end, like two-man coverage, at times it would be very difficult for us to get somebody open. So I give credit to Dallas for that. Now, the positive for the Lions side is this. So while it was kind of hit and miss for a lot of the game, at the end of the game when they needed it most, and there was still man coverage mixed in there. There wasn't blitzing, but there was still man coverage mixed in. The Lions found answers, and they were able to get the ball down the field. Now, the big shot play was zone coverage. We saw some of that Tampa 2 look from Dallas in this one, and obviously we hit the shot there to Sam Laporta, but we found answers. And in this game, again, one of the biggest answers for us was Sam Laporta. And I know we talked about that a little bit earlier in this week, but Sam Laporta, to me, is one of those guys that can be a consistent answer for us against man coverage. A play like this kind of gave you a sense of what Dallas was going to do defensively in this game with all of their man coverage, and they were playing a lot of switch man coverage from what I could tell. So when you look at a play like this, for example, they're going to bring that 4-man rush, but what you're going to get is these stack looks. And the switch man coverage is difficult, I think, for offenses to play against, because for them, they're able to basically play everything that you do offensively. Dallas can. It's very difficult to get them in a position where guys are just wide open. So seemingly every pass essentially gets contested. It's hard to get wide open matchups against this type of coverage. And Dallas, credit to them, communication was on point for a lot of this game. They had some slight breakdowns at times, and at times we exploited it, but it's almost more so just attacking like the rules of what they were doing in coverage, more so than just getting guys wide open against this defense. So in a case like this, they bring their base 4-man rush, but they're going to play cover 1 robbers, so you get your post player and you get your middle field help. Here on this 3-receiver side, this is where they're going to switch. In this case, their +1 is kind of the safety, but it's a little bit different because it's not like your base down where you have a linebacker in the spot. Because it's 3rd and 10, their extra defender underneath is just going to be kind of this robber that's rolling down on the play that's going to give middle field help. So they're going to ultimately switch on the 3-receiver side through this stack, and you can see it. Why? Because the Lions are going to switch releases. So right here with Khalif Raymond and Sam Laporta, they switch releases, so the defenders switch it. They handle it well, but where the Lions get success here is not that they break down in coverage, but instead it's that Khalif Raymond at the top of the route against a off-man cover corner with his kind of burst towards the outside. He gets Lewis to step outside. He's able to break back inside and create himself some leverage. Plus, in a way, Sam Laporta kind of blocks out the safety, and they're able to convert and pick up a first down there. I think this would be a really good example of what they are in coverage and why they're difficult to get guys open on the play. Again, this is another 3rd down situation, not where you want to get against this Dallas defense. Plus, again, they're going to play robber on this play, so they're going to roll down their safety. So it's a little bit different than some of the base looks that they give you. However, you're going to see again here, utilizing the short motion. This time the Lions are going to try to use the short motion with Khalif. They're going to try to drag him across the middle of the field. But because Dallas is switching everything defensively, that's where you don't really get that open receiver. And plus, their safety on this play, Jayron Kearse, because they're so sound, communications on point, he also steps down like he's the free defender, which I guess he kind of is underneath, and he takes away this crosser. That way the cornerback technically doesn't have to just race and try to chase a guy like Khalif Raymond off the middle of the field, where in some cases, like the Lions, they may say, okay, we may not get that complete breakdown, but if we can make them chase Khalif Raymond, we feel good about that based on how they're playing 3rd down defense because they're having their safeties roll. But in a case like this, as you can see, Khalif Raymond, short motion, defense switches, it's seamless. Jordan Lewis steps down. Then on the outside, they take Jamison. Those routes are going vertical, so it's on the defensive backs to handle that responsibility. So here comes Khalif Raymond. The Lions may be thinking we could just run him past the defense. However, as you can see, Jayron Kearse steps down. He doesn't just play middle field. He steps all the way down, recognizes this is happening, and steps in front of it. So he kind of takes that route away. Then at the second level, this is where we have the issue because really beyond that, we didn't have time to get anything open. Against the outside leverage here, you can see that Jameson Williams doesn't really create a lot of space at the top of that route. And then St. Brown, who has inside leverage with the deep middle safety because you already pulled one of the play, this would be the guy that I think on paper you'd want to get open because he's your best receiver. You create leverage and you take away their help defender. However, the issue comes into play where, one, you don't get enough time for it to happen. Right here, as you can see, he's coming out of his break. Goff is now dealing with pressure, and once that takes place, is why you don't want to get in a spot against his team. All of a sudden, the interior pressure as well, and that may have been, honestly, one of the worst Frank Ragnow reps. He was really good all day, but there was just a mess there, so it was difficult for Goff to step in the pocket and try to hit that second-level pass. So you can see the idea on paper of how they were trying to utilize how Dallas' defense was playing to try to get their best matchup. They just didn't have a chance on that play. Success rushing the football, though. Outside zones. Frank Ragnow. Watch him here on Mozzie Smith. Graham Glasgow. It's a really good rep for him as well. Then you also have a guy like Penei Sewell, and it was just about doing enough for him in this game. And this was a great example of that, right? It's not pretty, but he's able to create a kind of a wall there. Now, this thing is stretched out a long way, but you're getting good movement on the interior. You can see here on Mozzie Smith. On the backside, you're able to flip around, get Decker to seal off. And then here on the front side, Sam Laporta gets out on the safety. So you're getting a lot of things going well here. You get a good chunk running the football. This was one of the plays that we did already show, but where the Lions did find success as this game went on was specifically going at Stephon Gilmore at the top of the route. And obviously, you like Sam Laporta in these spots. He may have dropped this pass on a 2nd and 2, but this just shows how much you like Sam Laporta, his ability to create, get separation, get himself open at the top of the route. And this is just another example, even though he drops it, of why you trust him to be a big man coverage beater for you. you. So again, we get man coverage here from the Cowboys defensively, and in this case, you're going to see that all these routes are going vertical, so the defensive backs are going to handle that responsibility, which means now the backer has to get out, take away Jahmyr Gibbs. Could have been an option route here. I think he liked the linebacker sitting inside, so he broke outside. Goff doesn't like that, feels some heat here, steps up, and then you can see Sam Laporta is able to create separation and continue to create separation. Maybe one of Goff's best throws of the day. He's unable to hang on to that one, but it still does give me optimism because I think that's where Sam Laporta can separate himself for our offense. Again, the movement we were getting in the run game came on plays like this. Watch Frank Ragnow. Boom. Now, it started off really well by Graham Glasgow. Then here comes Frank Ragnow with the shove to get him out of the play, step up to the second level. Marquise Bell don't want any problem with that. That's where he had success. He doesn't want that. That's not where he wants to live. On the backside, look at the seal here that the Lions get with Jonah Jackson. Had some good reps of that, but it was the short yard situation stuff that was killer. And it makes sense because as a defense, right, their athleticism is the problem for you offensively. And when you're in these short yard situations, they get hyper aggressive. Their defensive backs, linebackers, they just shoot gaps. So the issue becomes is, man, as an offensive line, you're trying to play quick, get your hands on a guy quickly. Well, this is where Dallas gave us problems because whether it was Josh Reynolds or a tight end or in this case Graham Glasgow, we were trying to get hands on quickly and they were just making us miss. And it was things like this inside zone, right? Nope, not going to be there. You get an immediate blown block, you lose 3 yards, now you're backed up. And that's what the Lions were dealing with, which was a problem. Now, here's what's so interesting about this whole situation. I think in a way it kind of set up the incomplete pass at the end of the game, what Dan Campbell was saying that he expected versus what he actually got, and I think this is kind of part of the reason. Here is why. So they were playing a lot of the similar looks every time we got into these goal line red zone passing situations, and here defensively you can see the Lions are going into a 3-by-2 look by putting James Mitchell in line on this play, having no backs in the backfield. Here's the problem. So on this 3 receiver side, basically, again, your +1's on the backside. So to this side of the field, the strong side of formation, everybody is manned up on the play. Now, what that means is they're going to switch routes. So because they don't have that inside help to that side, the +1's opposite, now all of a sudden they're going to start switching routes. So right here, right, Laporta releases outside, Kearse is going to step down, take that away. Then it moves to the linebacker takes it away. Now Kearse is their zone defender. So everything gets communicated off. Now you can see that I guess on this play, James Mitchell, I mean, the dude is wide open here because Kearse did not necessarily dive down and handle this. So in a way, that guy was wide open. And maybe if there's not pressure here, Goff finds that. I think that's something that he could look back on and be like, oh, man, I could have seen that. Because Kearse did not necessarily dive down. He just kind of sat back in zone coverage, but there still was an assignment, right? He couldn't really do that because at the play, you were balanced defensively. You didn't have an extra defender to just do that. So that means on the backside, again, they can just kind of play with leverage because they have that inside help. So notice, see how they don't switch? They're able to play with leverage towards their inside help, and I think that's what got the Lions in a way kind of at the end of the game here. But as you see on a play like this, Jahmyr Gibbs, who's running this crossing route, he doesn't even seem to be looking for the football. I think he's just a straight-up decoy. They're trying to decoy Jahmyr Gibbs to open up kind of the back-level pass for Jared Goff on this play, and that becomes Sam Laporta, who, again, they create the switch, and when they create the switch right here, you see how he releases outside? Now, all of a sudden, he's got inside leverage. So they're like, okay, we can get him inside leverage against the corner. Now we can break him to the back of the end zone. So that's what Goff wants. He looks to Gibbs, but he's not even looking for the football. He's just, to me, a decoy on this play. So they want to decoy and try to get this free safety down, right? They got the linebacker taking it. They're trying to get him down on the play, and he's passing it off to the other linebacker. That's their +1. Safety makes a really good play, sees that, drops back, and gets into a spot. Plus, Laporta kind of stumbles at the top of the route here, so it could have had a chance, but you see him kind of fall out of his break here. He doesn't really get through, and the safety makes a good play, Wilson. Only thing there could have been maybe better eyes from Goff to try to really hold him out of the play, but that's where that gets you. And then here, one of those kind of pin-pull looks with Sam Laporta. And, again, this is one of those spots where the blown blocks were killers. I think we showed this one too, but it just was because you can see it open up from the All-22 version. Watch this. And you can see defensive line, okay, there's no one in between the guards. But what you would expect out of that is they're going to slant likely on the front or maybe bring linebacker blitzes through the A-gaps. But in a case like this, they slant in the front. So pinball makes sense. And you can see it's going to open up. Like you could see the end zone. The issue becomes the blown block here by Laporta is instant on Micah. And credit to Micah. He just made Laporta have his rough game blocking. Instant blown block, now all of a sudden Gibbs has to get wider. He can't get upfield and press inside, which ultimately takes Frank Ragnow. So now no one can get up and block Marquise Bell. So now all of a sudden Gibbs' only hope is I have to get to the edge here. And that's where Jonah Jackson, off balance, gets ran over. He's got no chance. He gets a yard on that play. It was there, but just a lot of good plays by the defense and a lot of not good execution by the offense, and all of a sudden it's take away. Comes in because of this. Josh Reynolds goes vertical, which means the DBs have to handle that. So once Josh Reynolds goes vertical from the slot, all of a sudden the DB has to open up and take that. And again, they're playing, he's playing in this case, he's playing towards the outside, knowing that he has midfield help to the safety there. What that means is that Stephon Gilmore can't pass off Jameson Williams, the inside slot, because now St. Brown's here. Their free defender is on the other hash marks. So that's why you get this window that's created. See, they pass it off here. He passes it off to their linebacker because it goes inside. But because the slot is vertical, there's nowhere for Gilmore to give this off. So Gilmore hesitates. He wants to pass it, but he can't. So once he recognizes he can't pass it, he doesn't have the burst to get back in this. That is why Jameson Williams is open for this spot here for Jared Goff, and it would have been there. Again, it's another thing I think you can look at. However, on the front side, you can see it was almost like kind of trying to set up a big play here, seemingly with David, right? We're going to release outside, then get back upfield with Laporta. We know they're not going to switch this. So because of that, we're going to try to get a spot where we can get Montgomery a catch and run, kind of get him into the end zone. That's not really
here maybe could have been a spot to try to truly use Sam Laporta like a pick player, maybe just set like a curl or something. Obviously, you may not want to release immediately inside because if they do switch, it's going to be taken away. But if they don't, based on what we've seen, that's a spot where you maybe could give Montgomery more help into the flat. However, they're also seemingly trying to still get this back of the end zone kind of look for Laporta, and him releasing outside allows him to, again, try to set up inside leverage that we can create space for Goff later in the play.
Plus there's pressure by Micah, so Goff steps up, and then late on the play, he tries to find Sam Laporta kind of breaking into the back of the end zone, probably because, they kind of set up, right, these, like, little underneath, like, drag routes, so they're thinking, okay, if we don't have that first read, if he can kind of maybe hitch back and look towards the middle of the field, maybe we can get that safety down, but once the play gets broken, now they look for Laporta to the back of the end zone, and maybe it had a chance, but it was incomplete there. Again, it was pretty good coverage from them. I mean, we got a lot of examples of these, more outside zone rushing success. Here we go. Now, this one, they give you that different. They're giving you kind of that look that we talked about coming into this game, four-eye, off-ball linebacker Micah, so no one here is, again, really lined up with the guards on this play. And with the Lions, where they had success was running an outside zone to that, meaning getting in front with Frank Ragnow and Jonah Jackson, sealing it off, forcing Micah on the backside, so he has to kind of go through the backside, which means that on the front side, you got to win some of these singled-up blocks. And they're able to do that. Graham Glasgow, Penei Sewell, those guys kind of win their blocks here, specifically Graham Glasgow creating that movement. Then because of that, once Micah jumps through the backside, now Frank can walk up to the second level, pick up his block, and boom, you're off to the races again. So Lions actually took advantage of that look, which we thought, okay, that could be a concern. They actually took advantage in an example like that. And then here you kind of get that rock look from the defense here, where you can see offensively the Lions, they come out in kind of this cluster look, this bunch look to the left side, because they go up and they cluster, and they end up bringing their safety down on this play. Once they utilize Sam Laporta, they utilize him on this fast motion. Now here's where you get that communication to Kearse, and it was only a 4th and 2, so you're able to utilize kind of what they're doing schematically, rocking the motion through their safety position by being able to create some space here. And that's where you get kind of just quick out-breaking route. You pick up the 2 yards that you need, and you pick up a first down.
It will take away really any opportunity for them to switch this off, pass it all off here, because Jameson Williams takes off the line of scrimmage. So there's not really a chance here for the cornerback to read this and say give it to the safety and then dive into the flat here where Laporta's ultimately going to go, because again, when they snap this football, Laporta's still inside of Jameson Williams. So when he breaks outside, they don't get that switch. You can see Marquise Bell working over to try to be that underneath zone linebacker to give inside help, but it's still just too fast for the way that they're rolling coverage.
No, Dallas did mix in a couple of other looks, like a cover 4 look, which we were able to make happen. And what I like about this one is kind of just a feel here, I think, from Goff to understand like where they can kind of leverage it offensively, meaning that with Jameson Williams running this outbreaking route behind Jordan Lewis on this play and understanding there's only 3 underneath defenders, that, yeah, there's pressure that forces him out of the pocket here between really Odigizua is the key on this play. He beats Jonah Jackson. Decker actually does a nice job recovering and kind of taking away Micah there. So when he floats left, this is the guy that he can kind of work here, and if Lewis continues to float that way, all of a sudden, because you run kind of these crossers underneath, timing, and I think even the timing of something this small, like just underneath, in terms of when does Jahmyr Gibbs decide to release and break outside versus Josh Reynolds deciding to kind of hesitate and then drag across the middle of the field, it's not instant, right? So the communication is delayed, which means that right here, you're going to see how Jahmyr Gibbs hesitates and then he walks upfield. Now he takes that attention of the linebacker and also the underneath defender here, and underneath the defender here, so now it's delayed. So now once Jahmyr Gibbs gets past the line of scrimmage and decides to break out, it's at the very same time that Josh Reynolds is crossing the face of the linebacker. So there you get kind of a mix-up, and if he takes a false step, now all of a sudden Goff can move left, and if Lewis continues to stick with J-Mo, he's going to have an open man. So he kind of creates through the timing there, and we're able to actually get a first down of a play like that, and that's really why I show something like that. Again, the outside zone here, and this was, At first I'm watching this like, man, why did Jonah Jackson do that? But I'm like, actually, it was kind of smart because Marquise Bell's quickness is hard to get up there at the second level. So Jonah Jackson just goes with a little cut block here at the second level, kind of takes him out, ultimately trips up David Montgomery, but it's still a good run. You're getting that movement. Watch Frank Ragnow here on Mozzie Smith. Boom. He just drives him out of the play, man. Just drove him out of the play. Another good stuff there. And again, that's how you punch it into the end zone. I look at Frank Ragnow again, just doing enough here to get his hands on Bell. He's dealing with Mozzie as the nose tackle, gets on him early. Here comes Graham Glasgow. Then again, just gets enough of Marquise Bell. Penei Sewell, of course, is getting really good movement on the backside here on Odigizua. And because of that, it creates that lane for Dave Montgomery to kind of just fall into there and score a touchdown.
A key block here against Lawrence, a very quick edge defender for Jonah Jackson to jump to the front side and not allow him to jump in front and force a cutback lane here. Allows him to continue the flow of this play and then work behind it.
So just really good movement. That's a big positive, I think, going forward. Now, in a play like this, again, you can see that it's kind of, you're watching it, I'm like, okay, why didn't he have to use his eyes more? And it could have been just being very aggressive, but at the same time, in kind of this quarter's look. But in this case, see how St. Brown releases inside at first on the play? He releases inside, so the cornerback passes that off to the inside. You can see the communication happening right here with Khalif Raymond. Well, then on top of that, he starts to kind of show back upfield. And I think, we've seen this before. We did against Minnesota. This safety right here, he's worried about St. Brown pushing up to that second level. So he starts to get kind of aggressive on this play to take that away, because if this thing goes inside and then goes back upfield, the safety's got to be in a spot to kind of deal with maybe like a curl route or something like that. I think that's also why you get so much attention on the backside here, but it's really about this safety specifically on this play. They're switching everything. That creates the one-on-one at the top of the screen with J-Mo. And then, man, he just looks awesome running like this, man. He's just flying on a play like this, pushes that outside hip on this play, boom, and then he just gets on top, stacks him. I don't know why the throw cut off. I'm going to apologize for this. This is a beautiful throw. I did the math. It was 55 yards in the air. You can see Goff took that hit there. Penei Sewell kind of lost Mike on the play. 55 air yards, if my math is correct, on that play to Jameson. We'd like to see a little more of that. More of that, please. Offensively here, this is where I think you just have to find a way to connect. You got to find a way to connect because, again, you're taking what they want to do defensively, and you're just attacking it. And simply, it's attacking Stephon Gilmore. Understanding that, again, it's going vertical, so they're going to carry that. The defensive back is going to be responsible. So in a case like this, as you can see, kind of that two-receiver side, the backside you're getting switching, but on the two-receiver side with that free defender right here, they're playing the leverage side of things, understanding they have that inside help. However, this is one of those spots where you just want to connect because you're getting the off coverage basically with the stack, and you're just attacking that, understanding that they're going to play off coverage and that you feel like you can win there against Stephon Gilmore. So it was simplified. It was the 3rd and 3. You just didn't connect, and that's one of those spots where you're like, man, you wish we could have had that one and scored a touchdown and not a field goal on that possession. Then here, I love this. They utilized the beneath route. You want to switch everything. It just takes a 1 tick of a second for you to just hesitate, and that's what happens here with Jordan Lewis. You're able to get him out to the flat, and he's able to pick up a nice chunk. It's nothing special, but it's a positive gain on first down. So some things like that, like it's like, oh, why didn't we break that out more? But, it worked there. And then here again, it was a rough day for Laporta. But at the same time, there is part of me that's like, maybe we just shouldn't have put him in that many spots. I mean, based on a situation, like, you understand why you want to go duo blocking scheme, right? You strong double team here. You're trusting your guys one-on-one elsewhere. You seal up the backside. You understand it. You trust Monty, this small linebacker play. In this case is Clark, right? If this holds up, now he can press inside or outside. He can pick up a chunk out of this. You love that. But it's also a very tough matchup. James Mitchell steps in on the safety, but Sam Laporta trying to step in, maybe if he could have positioned himself a little bit better on Micah, is a tough matchup. So you still go positive. And now this is a play bring up because this is something that I've seen in the past. I remember the Lions used to utilize this with TJ Hawkinson, and I don't think I've seen this that often recently. But here it is. It came back against a team that want to play man-heavy, simplifying it, right? You pull Jonah Jackson on this play right here, which means their one free defender underneath is going to be stepped down because he's in zone. You do the play fake. Goff can easily kind of look off the safety here by holding in middle, and then you just get that crosser. And, again, that's the ability Laporta gives you. You can trust him to win one-on-one. He releases inside, gets inside leverage, and boom, he separates, put it on him. And it was simple. Got things started before the interception, of course. But at the same time, that is something that the Lions can lean on, right? When they want something simplified, they usually can go to Laporta. And I think it's awesome to have something like that. It'll be awesome to have something like that for years. Here offensively, again, going into some more man coverage here. And this is attacking Stephon Gilmore, attacking that off coverage. This route is beautiful, by the way. Just take a second to appreciate St. Brown's route at the bottom of the screen here. This thing is beautiful, man. That was nasty. He should have had a defensive flag later in this drive, too, that he should have drawn, but they didn't throw the flag for some reason. But here again, with Goff does well is they roll their safety high, holding Donovan Wilson on this play with his eyes. That's really the key to this one. Everybody goes vertical. You kind of get in a way like a two-man look, and right here he's able to hold Wilson middle field, and then he's able to come back and hit St. Brown. So good recognition. Obviously, you recognize this stuff right off the snap. He can see what they're in. He knows what they're playing, and then when he hits his back foot, he can flip around and find the man that's open on this play. So that was nice to hold the safety. It was also just a beautiful route by St. Brown, and man, I mean, that's tough, man. He's not an outside receiver technically, but that's a tough route right there. This time they don't switch release, so it almost kind of throws off Jayron Kearse, because watch this. So they put Laporta in the stack here against this man coverage, but notice how he never switches. See how he doesn't get outside of Khalif Raymond? I mean, maybe in a way, maybe you're kind of hoping it does, and then it kind of messes them up, I guess, and then Khalif Raymond maybe could be open, but they never switch on this play because the receivers never switch. So now all of a sudden he's like completely in half turn on this play, which means that just about Laporta winning at the top of the route, and that's what he does on a safety. Bam, plants, breaks inside. It's a nasty cut, by the way. That thing was flatline, dude. That thing was nasty. That's a nasty route, dog. And then he picks up the first down there. And one of the keys with this play is just a breakdown here with Jourdan Lewis and Stephon Gilmore. I think on this play you see this. So you get the stack, and they're both going to go vertical. You're going to get the out route here for St. Brown. He's going to dive into the end zone. But you also have, again, you have that similar look of you're balanced on this side. Here's your +1. So they're willing to switch on this side of the field. And what happens is you can see Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs on the next play, you'll see it more, but just pointing him out here. You can see how he kind of delays and he releases out of the backfield. Now, Jourdan Lewis on this play, as you're going to see, Khalif Raymond's going to shoot inside and then vertical, so he passes that off. I don't know if he's able to do that in the spot because, again, where the issue comes into play with that is they basically lose leverage into the back of the end zone. Jourdan Lewis, now, if the running back goes his direction, now he could pass it off to the inside. So he passed that off to the safety basically on this play and the inside, but the safety's going to lose leverage, which means that Stephon Gilmore here, who's on the outside, where St. Brown releases outside and goes vertical, he would have to deal with that. The problem becomes is Jourdan Lewis stays down. So now all of a sudden, you're seeing Stephon Gilmore see, oh, there goes Khalif Raymond. Let me open up and take that away. Now because of that, no one ends up taking St. Brown, so they get a breakdown defensively, and he dives into the end zone. But as you see here, looking at these 2-point tries, this one from the 7-yard line, they had some options here. This is where it's almost like they intentionally kind of attacked, we want to try to get leverage back in the end zone. So as you see, they create leverage here in the back of the end zone. Well, again, they give you the similar look. Running back and two receivers, so they balance it up. Now, safety's cheating this time. He's cheating over top, assuming to try to help and take that away. Lions, though, intentionally immediately shoot out Jahmyr Gibbs into the flat. They immediately shoot him out, and then they break him back inside. And what that does here is you're going to see, again, Jourdan Lewis, they release vertical, so he stays underneath. Now he can pick up the back. Well, the issue becomes is this, and I think the Lions were trying to create potentially two things underneath here, is Jahmyr Gibbs on the angle route, and then also on the backside having St. Brown, which is where the ball goes, but that's because there was pressure. If Jourdan Lewis steps down to take the back, and all of a sudden the safety, Kearse in this spot, passes it off to the inside, and he's holding it vertical off to the safety. Now, all of a sudden, the hope is, I think, when Gibbs breaks back inside, the attention's here, and you're able to create a window for a catch and run, dive into the end zone kind of thing. But they do, again, pass it off pretty well. Now, your best shot probably would have been leverage here to the corner of the end zone in that back pylon, because the speed out is automatically going to pull Stephon Gilmore just out of the play. So I think the best shot would have been trying to maybe hit a touch pass back here. But the pressure comes in, so Goff gets away from that. And that's where we see on the backside, again, you have the two receiver side. They're not switching anything, and because of that, they set up a jerk route, basically. St. Brown sits down, cornerback tries to dive from off, he sits there, shows, and then he jumps back inside. So again, then even to that point, while Kearse steps back down, if your eyes are one direction, maybe you're thinking that we can hold the free defender and make him at least look right a little bit. That way, if Goff doesn't like that, he can come back and try to fire this in on time, and that could be our second option. So Gibbs could have just been a decoy, but I think you were trying to get two things going underneath potentially there.
Plus, the safety is going to be taken out by TJ Hockenson. I think that's a big reason they started cheating that direction, which ultimately leads Khalif Raymond to actually getting open in the back of the end zone. So if this play would have just had time, like if the pass would have held up other than standing offside, they had a lot of options here, especially in the back of the end.
But the pressure came in, so Goff just flung it, and it was incomplete. But at the same time, it was also an offsides. Now, here on this play, I still don't think I know exactly what's happening here, but here's kind of my takeaway. So what we've seen is this three receiver side here, right, away from the +1. So in this case, you have linebacker, you have matchup here with Kearse, and you have the one-on-one on the outside with St. Brown, who's going to short motion in, which means that here's their extra defender. So that means they're willing to switch what we've seen. But in this case, they don't switch defensively. So as you're going to see here, there is no switching defensively. Instead, they kind of just play towards their leverage towards the inside. So maybe the Lions were expecting that thing to potentially switch. And I think what the Lions were possibly hoping for here is that Jayron Kearse would ultimately step down. Because when Sam Laporta releases outside, you see they snap it in the short motion. Maybe they're trying to make him think like, oh, he's stepping in, so I'm going to step down. But they snap it almost intentionally before he switches that release. Then on the snap, he switches the release. So there's no switch there. Jayron Kearse stays on top. But also on top of that, James Mitchell goes into the flat. Well, if they're willing to switch, right, then Jayron Kearse in this spot, you would think, would have to step down into the flat on this play and take James Mitchell. And ultimately on this play, that's where you can get Sam Laporta kind of posting up, and he could find himself open between the linebacker, who again has James Mitchell. But as you're going to see here, St. Brown, who shows that he's going inside, he's going to take that linebacker attention, kind of sit him down. The cornerback also goes over top to take that, and he's decoyed out of the play because he breaks them back outside. So now the linebacker, he's trying to chase someone, and it essentially creates a 2-on-1 here. But Jayron Kearse never dives. He just stays on top of it. So I think what they were hoping is that ultimately Kearse was going to step down on the play and almost like kind of pass this off to the linebacker here who's chasing in coverage in this spot potentially, and then maybe try to create that window where if like right here, you know, he dives down, he gets off Laporta, and he dives down to take Mitchell, then Goff can try to hit the window between him diving down and a linebacker sliding over. It's just kind of an idea. I don't know if that's what they were going for. It kind of seems like it may have been, but that switch never takes place. Everybody just stays on their man. There's no switching taking place anywhere here, and almost kind of backfires because while Goff is seemingly just standing there waiting and waiting and waiting for Kearse to dive and take that away, that way he can find that window, Kearse never dives. He just stays on top of Laporta. So ultimately Goff's like, dang, I'm going to have to throw this football because I'm running out of room here. You can see when he throws the football, James Mitchell looks back at him. So he's not looking at him until now, and that's when Goff's like, okay, I got to put this ball out. He's looking at me, and he's still on top of the route. So then, again, you get kind of the underthrow. The best case they had was trying to get this out like right now. Throw it right now, right? Throw it right now. Now, it probably wouldn't have had a good chance because, one, James isn't looking for it. Two, he's just going to get off this and make the tackle. So Goff has to wait if that's what they're trying to have, is Laporta pop himself open and the safety dives down. But, again, if this is on target, you may have a chance. He's kind of falling away from it. He leaves it short. It's incomplete. It would have been tight, but you could see why, you know, kind of what happened seemingly on that play. So I think the best thing you take away from this is that the Lions have seen it, and now next time they see it, they can understand exactly how Dallas wants to play them. But that switch man, it is a good coverage. It's what makes this defense so tough because they have players to do it. But at the same time, you could see that the Lions found answers. One, attacking Stephon Gilmore. Two, some of the things schematically they wanted to do. And three, you were able to get movement in the outside zone. We just have to be better in terms of how do we attack to deal with those edge defenders to try to minimize how impactful they actually were. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching.